Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Best Trader I Know podcast by Brotato Capital. If you're listening to me, I'm the host of this trial series that we're running. My name is Swiss, and I get the pleasure to interview a trader by the name of Bala NFT. It is NFT Bala? Is it Bala or just Bala NFT? What do you prefer?
That's Bala. Bala. I need to change slash get rid of the NFT part. I think that was like obviously joined during the NFT hype cycle.
Yeah, I
I
was
just
about to
haven't bothered
say
changing it.
that's you're giving yourself away from when you may have entered.
I
um,
mean, that's when I entered Twitter. Yeah.
yeah. So we've got Bala on today. So we're going to have a chat about how he got into crypto, what he sees, what he's bullish on, what he's bearish on, any good stories that he's got for us to dive into and learn more about. I thought I'd quickly talk on a wholesome time for when I actually met Bala. Went up to Sydney and we caught up for a dinner. And he's a very generous guy. Decided to come to drinks afterwards, and was a very very wholesome dude. So I've met Bala a few times, and yeah, really good friend, and great to have him on. So hopefully we can get some juicy alpha out of Bala when it comes to trading on-chain shitcoins. Maybe some good learning experiences or two. But yeah, keen to get into it. How are you, Bala?
No, I'm good. I'm good. No, I'm super excited to talk. I think when you reached out to have a chat, I got excited. I was looking forward to this, and I think obviously met twice now. Once in Sydney, once in Melbourne. I had a great time both times. So yeah, keen to continue the conversation.
Yeah, and it's so crazy that you're actually 4'10". Like, I didn't believe you when you were joking about it, and yeah, I reckon people will be able to match the voice to the height in this
Oh,
episode.
100%. 100%. 4'10". That's exactly how tall I am.
Yeah, it's why you got the cat PFP, right? You know, just to get to the
I
sort of
mean,
same height.
look, funnily enough, I fucking hate cats. Like, I don't know why I have a cat PFP. I've got like two cat PFPs, which I've been changing between for like the last month or so, 2 months or so,
Yeah.
and I absolutely despise cats. So, yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because the other one's the Warzone one, right? The one that's like the 1,000 yard stare, but it's just like a regular cat.
Yeah, like I think it's Zazu cat or something.
Yeah.
That
Uh,
one. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, why don't we kick things off with how you got into crypto? When did you first hear about it, and like what made you get involved?
Yeah, so I think first time I heard about crypto was in 2012. Funnily enough, I think I told you the story on another podcast
Mm.
that we had done. But long story short, I ended up on the dark web in class, and I was looking through like the dark wiki, I think it was called, or whatever it was called, like the Onion Wiki website, and ended up on a hire a hitman website at the young age I was for no reason. I didn't have any beef with anyone. Then came across Bitcoin and I was like, what the hell is like this internet money? Kind of laughed at the idea of like people buying Bitcoin because I didn't understand what it was and I didn't really read a white paper or anything at that time either. And that was like my first exposure to the word Bitcoin.
Mm.
And then I didn't really hear about it up until 2017.
Yeah.
Um, and like all of my friends were sort of getting into Bitcoin, and I was like, oh, just buy this, buy that, like all the altcoins, and like they're going up in value. And I just thought I was a genius at that time because I kept pulling the right coins. But obviously, I think it was just like a little mini mania that was going on back then, and things were naturally just going up because money was flowing into this area.
Mm.
Then I think I got in a bit too late into the cycle. I think the first major holding, quote unquote, I used was Tron. I became a massive Moon Boy,
Yeah.
thinking that I'm going to buy a Lambo off this one trade. Sadly, did not. And yeah, and then I think 2017 I was in that cycle towards the tail end of it. Got a bit cooked at the end of it for like a couple of grand. Again, I think I was relatively young, so a couple of grand was a decent amount back then. And then kind of left the market, didn't really think about crypto after that. And then I kind of joined crypto again during the NFT bull run
Mm.
because I think NFT just intrigued me because so many people were talking about it and it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Then I called Bunjul over to have breakfast because this guy did not shut up about NFTs for like 3 weeks. And I just called him over. I'm like, hey, like come over and tell me about NFTs so I can understand what is the value proposition with NFTs, why is it so like great, whatever. Um, and then yeah, that's how I got involved in 2021.
Yeah.
And I kept reminding myself during the 2021 cycle that like whatever I do, like after the cycle, is not to leave during
Mm.
that time period.
Yeah.
And I made sure after I guess the market nuked, FTX, all that kind of stuff happened, I was still consistently on Twitter, talking to people in the crypto space and just being involved. Um, and made sure I didn't leave essentially to stay up to date and understand where things are moving and how things are trending.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, what made you buy Tron? Like, did you become like a white paper sort of guy and thought that this was it, this was going to like change the world, or did you just look at it moving really quickly and you thought that's going up a lot quicker than Bitcoin? I think I might invest in that.
I think it was like Reddit. I think I like came across like the Reddit subreddits, and
Mm.
everyone was like super bullish Tron.
Yeah.
And again, like I didn't understand what cryptocurrency was
Mm.
back in 2017 and like what how it gets used or whatever. But I just saw like, oh my god, this is going to the moon, rocket, 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 like emojis one after the next. I'm like, oh hectic, like everyone's excited about this Tron coin, I'll buy it as well.
Yeah.
So there wasn't any like fundamental analysis or like any, I guess, backing of it. Um, I also just remember like people being bullish on Justin Sun because he was a billionaire. I'm like, why would a
Yeah.
billionaire rug me?
Yeah.
So I think those kind of two things were like my justification of buying Tron. Um, and I remember like my family telling me that, hey, like why don't you sell this
Mm.
and like cash out like your like however much you're up by. And I'm like, no, it's gonna go higher. And then, like I said, it didn't go higher.
I feel like that's how a lot of people kind of learn. What was interesting, I thought, though, was so you kind of left after the Tron period of time, and then you got back in 2021 with the NFTs when you kind of met Bunjil. Um, what were you not paying attention to Bitcoin at that period of time when it was kind of all the rage as it was going up after COVID? So did you notice that that was going on during that period of time
Um, so during the NFT, sorry, after NFTs or during NFTs?
before
Yes.
NFTs?
Yeah, I mean, look, I had heard people talking about like crypto and Bitcoin,
Mm,
I guess, leading up into like the NFT cycle, and I, I don't know, I just didn't engage into crypto at that time. I think I was like, again, I was like, I don't think I understood the space
mm,
completely enough at that time either. And I think through NFTs and being on chain, that kind of really opened my eyes to crypto and understanding what crypto is like its raw concept, and
yeah,
what it's trying to achieve overall, and like make I guess finance accessible to anyone and whatnot.
yeah,
So I think it being on chain changed my perception of what crypto is. I think a lot of people that might be on like dexes, sorry, not dexes, on centralized exchanges, they don't know a lot of the time what they're buying, right? They just
mm,
know they're buying a token which represents something, and they just trade for the sake of trading.
yeah,
But I think being on chain and like experiencing, I guess, on chain dApps
mm,
kind of opens your eyes to understand what blockchain technology is and how it's where it's heading. Like outside of obviously the like gambling on meme coins and whatnot, like that kind of stuff. I think like the DeFi space is really awesome, and I think it's going to see a resurgence this year. And I
yeah.
think I think a lot of the most exciting things and the most eye-opening things happen on chain.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you raised a really good point about how like you think it might come back as well. Because I think that kind of underpins why we're all here sometimes, even though like we see meme coins go up a fair bit and some other questionable tech. I just wanted to talk to you about getting into NFTs. I know that you mentioned that Bungie was sort of talking about it a bit at that time. What drew you in specifically about NFTs for you to finally get back into crypto?
Well, two aspects of it, I think. Number one aspect is number was going up very quickly.
Yeah,
Like you'd buy something, you'd mint something.
with images this time, right?
Yeah, with images, like you bought something, it went up in price, and it's like holy shit! Like I made 3 grand off like 2 hours of work type of thing. And I'm like, oh, imagine I could do this every single day.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I think there was that aspect, but I think the what I guess kept you involved in NFTs, and I guess what kept NFTs going for a longer period of time was the community aspect.
Mm.
And I think obviously during COVID and all that kind of stuff, it just became like, all right, cool, you made friends in the space, you get to network with people and I guess grow as an individual within in the crypto space
Yeah.
with other people. And I guess it's like a bit of a meme, but it's like you made like I made friends across the world because of NFTs. I
Yeah.
don't think I would have made friends across the world. Like yes, sure, like I've obviously like met you guys and met all the other Brotato people as well.
Mm.
But I think NFTs kind of allowed me to meet a lot of people like in other countries like the UK, the US, like fucking El Salvador,
Yeah.
like all over the shop, right?
Mm.
Like I went to like Hong Kong for to, like speak on stage and whatnot for like a Sui Builder house because of NFTs. So there's just like a different sense of community, which I don't think meme coins really allow you to build at the end of the
Yeah.
day because there's just so many people involved in it and whatnot. Whereas NFTs are slightly different.
Yeah. That's really cool that you got to go to Hong Kong. How did that happen?
Well, I was building a project on the Sui ecosystem.
Mm.
And yeah, I was building on the Sui ecosystem. Got invited by one of like the marketplaces to come and speak,
Mm.
and I just self-funded that trip. I was like, cool, like I really want to be a part of the Sui ecosystem. I want to meet the founders and I guess get to understand where they're trying to take the Sui tech, so we can obviously build out something
Yeah.
for the NFT project in line with where they see things going.
Yeah.
But then unfortunately we ended up wrapping up well, didn't wrap it up, but sold it on to another founder
Yeah.
and sort of exited because I think I kind of realized that NFTs were somewhat of a dying industry slash subsector of crypto.
Yeah. Um, that's really cool. What kind of what projects would you say were the most ones? Because you talked about the flipping that you did in a couple of hours. Like you bought some NFTs, they went up, you made a couple of grand, which is great. Were there any projects that kind of you thought were there for the long run and that you kind of felt more emotionally attached to from that community perspective?
Um, hmm. I don't think I ever held an NFT in that sense. Like I think
Mm,
like like the longest holding NFT that I ever had was like a Boo Monster, which is like a one of one DAO with like 100 PFP, like what the PFP that I currently have on my Discord.
yeah.
Other than that, like I think a lot of the time, like the NFTs that I had ended up being flipped a lot of the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, like I'd make friends with like communities and stuff like that, but a lot of the NFT, like I said, would end up getting sold off. I think actually now that I think about it, I think Teo's was like one of the ones that I was like most bullish on
Mm,
because of like they actually had delivered stuff with like the launchpad and whatnot. They'd built a really good community, there's really good comms from the like the devs and whatnot.
yeah.
So I thought Tao would have. I mean, Tao's still around technically, but I thought there would have been like a bit more like a major blue chip at the
Yeah.
end of the day. So I think yeah. I mean, I look. I think Tao will still do great. But like I said before, I think NFTs has really taken a backseat this cycle, and
Yeah.
a lot more of a backseat than I expected. I had fully expected there to be a NFT run, like a bigger NFT run than what we had like pre-halving
Yeah.
on ordinals. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll come back to that because that's probably a good question to dive into with this cycle and compare it to last cycle. But I wanted to touch on when you said that you could kind of see that NFTs were dying. Was that coming into the bear market that we'd recently had, or was that kind of you saw the froth and then realized that this wasn't it?
This was like post FTX.
Post FTX, wow.
Yeah, this is like post FTX world. Um, yeah, I mean, you kind of just saw like nothing performing, right? Like, there'd
Mm,
be really innovative projects trying to push out push out something, and like no one was interested, or like everyone was just buying, flipping, and moving on type of thing. And because no new capital was entering the market, and I guess there's so much supply, it kind of just became a thing where things were just falling over.
yeah,
And we've seen even like again, some of the biggest projects which everyone thought was going to be like, I don't know, the fucking next Bitcoin, like whatever you want to call it.
Mm.
Like we see, so D gods obviously you try to innovate so much and push the boundaries with such a large team, and even they've unfortunately ended up flopping, right? So I guess for me as an individual, kind of like didn't give me hope that if all these other projects are struggling, which have larger team, which have access to more capital and all this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
like what am I going to do? I guess in comparison.
Yeah.
Um, and at the same time, like I'm not a I can't code anything. Like I need to hire people. Sure, I could have ideas, but again, if I don't see there being enough of a race to sort of push something in the right direction or get people involved in a different capacity or all that kind of stuff. Like I don't see it going anywhere, so I kind of had to take my foot off the pedal in that sense.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is like even when you saw the larger teams with bigger war chests, so to speak, really try and push for a product to market and it not really go anywhere post FTX, you kind of realize that there wasn't too much like extra money flowing around to sort of pump all the other projects as well.
I mean, it didn't matter about pumping. It was more like just supporting, like
Yeah.
whatever was happening. Like anything that would mint would go into mint price within like a couple of like days at the least, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then like I said, like I think crypto Twitter also evolved quite heavily.
Mm.
I think a lot of people made friends outside of NFT communities. A lot of action sort of moved from Discord to like Telegram as we see nowadays. And like I said, like people are just connecting in different ways than they were in 2021, 2022, right? In the
Yeah.
crypto space, like you just get invited, you get sent a link to a Telegram chat and you join it, and that's a group of friends.
Yeah. Did you think that the idea of NFTs was revolutionary from like since COVID, since like people were online? Like you thought, did you believe in NFTs to be like a really good piece of technology that could bridge online communities, if that makes sense?
Yes, I think I did. I think NFTs served a really good purpose, especially during COVID time, given that everyone was in a position of isolation, right? So I think during that time you could like really see the value of NFTs.
Mm.
I think you also saw the value of NFTs through the sense of belonging that they would provide during that time period as well.
Yeah.
Again, being in COVID, no one had access to, I guess, other friends and all that kind of stuff, so you kind of relied on the internet to connect with others.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think NFTs served like an important purpose, but I think I did have a and do have a larger vision for NFTs, and I think the most interesting way of NFT like tech implementation is authentication. How do you authenticate something is legitimate?
Yeah.
And I think like that, the best category for that is like luxury goods.
Yeah.
Um, like for example, how do you verify a Rolex is a Rolex, and it came from the Rolex factory? And I feel like NFTs, in a sense, could be implemented to verify its like legitimacy that oh, it is from the Rolex factory, right?
Yeah.
So I think in those situations, it would be really interesting to see.
Yeah, I think you probably aren't the only one that thinks that when it comes to like a rationale understanding of how the technology can serve, authenticate or authenticate certain items. Do you think that the nature of the price appreciation versus things that look ugly would ever be something that can exist again within NFTs? So basically saying like, do you think people will end up buying NFTs to be a statement piece or to flex luxury or wealth in the future?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think that's like my entire thesis
Mm,
for NFTs sort of playing a role this cycle,
mm,
especially towards the end of it. Um, like in my head, again, I don't know if the cycle's ended or not. I don't think it has, to be honest. But I did think that because people are making so much money, like it was last cycle, everyone wanted to have that Grail NFT that like a what's it called, like a punk, right, or bought a yacht club because they wanted to show off on the internet
yeah,
that they could afford a 3, 4, 500K picture, right,
yeah,
linked to a URL. Um, and I thought that would naturally happen this cycle as well, right? Like obviously we have like our own individual lives, and you might buy a watch to like flex in person, or you might buy a nice car, nice shoes, all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
But for you to flex online, the only way for you to really do it, besides obviously posting images of like your, I
Lifestyle.
guess, lifestyle items, is through these like luxury PFPs. Like people inherently try to one up one another,
Yeah.
and I didn't see that sort of changing, right? Like people are going to make money this cycle. Like there would always be the people that made 10, 20, 30, 40 million dollars and go fucking spend it on stupid shit on the internet to be able to show off to other people at the end of the day, and flex their status, flex their wealth. So yeah, I think it will happen. I think NFTs aren't going. I think there'll be a different sector of NFTs that pop off. I think maybe collection NFTs might have like a bit of a lull, but I think maybe fine art in a sense, or like higher end art pieces made by, I guess, respected artists
Yeah.
would pop off maybe a bit more for a display of wealth perspective.
Yeah. Do you think that like the because like the previous cycle, from my understanding with NFTs, was a whole bunch of stuff just went up in value because people realized they can spend like the magic internet currency ETH on images, and then a lot of these like post-mortem rationale thesis were applied to things that were worth a lot. So it was like, for example, someone spends like $12 million on a punk, and then people have to go, oh yeah, that's because it's a grail, and they're holding it for the long term. Do you think that we could potentially see something irrational occur that's outside of the idea of purchasing art, or something more rational, like you know uh, NFTs used to authenticate? Do you think something else irrational will kind of take its place that people end up speculating their ETH on, if that makes sense?
Like a different version of NFT, like not NFTs, but like something like a different token. Do you mean, or
Potentially,
like what do you
yeah.
mean?
I'm not trying to say memes. I don't think I want to go there yet, but like more so, like you could invest in NFTs now, but what you really have is like the leftover of the previous cycle. And if you're not really buying the premium for punks, what else is there to really buy that you think people would come back and speculate on? Because ultimately, NFTs are so widely known. It's like, what do you actually think will become of value in NFT land?
I think I'm confused at the question.
Oh,
Are you
sorry,
saying
man.
like what NFTs like I would suggest people to like look at buying? Is that where you're sort of trying to go with it, or
Yeah, kind of. It's like,
like what NFTs I think will like lead the cycle outside of, I guess, the existing sort of like punks and bases and Macy's type of thing, or like
yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll come back to this one. Yeah, go with that
okay.
one. Sorry,
Yeah, I
man.
mean, no, you're good. I was like trying to wrap my head around like what do you how do I answer this? Where do I take this?
Yeah.
Well, I think in terms of like NFTs, obviously, I think Pudgy Penguins will do well long term. I think um, it has become like a brand item at the end of the
Mm,
day. People see it, people know what it is, and I think obviously Lucas
yeah,
has done like a really good job at expanding the brand beyond like Web3 and obviously into like Instagram, and like my girlfriend sends me all these like Pudgy Penguin reels all the time, but whenever she comes across it, like I'll get like a Pudgy Penguin reel from her.
yeah,
Um, and she's not like really involved in the crypto space at all besides DCing into Solana. Um, but again, like people don't know it's related to an NFT project, but they're still sending it and sharing it, right? And I mean, it has like one of the highest impressions on Gifly or whatever it's called.
yeah. It's like in the
Like,
billions, I think.
yeah, and I'm assuming like their Twitter, not the Twitter, their in Instagram is probably like 400-500K followers, and their TikTok's probably the same as well.
Yeah.
So I think that, and then I think there'll be, I think the main NFTs that will end up performing will be on Bitcoin.
Mm,
Um, because I think it's like the whole mother chain aspect. I don't think NFTs need to be fast like meme coins. So I think people that are collecting they'll be collecting Bitcoin related NFTs more than Ethereum related NFTs over the long run.
That's a win for ordinals. Let's go. Um, um,
Unfortunately, not runes.
yeah, yes, we don't have to bring that up. You know, we're on a good roll. We don't need to dampen the mood and talk
Ember the
about
rune.
runes. Just on that, I came up with an acronym for runes that I thought was pretty funny. I remember commenting this, and it was like, um,
Something about ruining your life.
yeah, I'll find it. We'll circle back to that. I'll find it later. But I
Uh,
wanted to talk
Alright.
about the previous cycle with NFTs. Did you have any big learnings or big wins that you wanted to talk about from like the 2021 mania that you were a part of?
Yeah, I think it's like it falls into that sorry, that naiveness, I think. Like nothing
Mm,
goes up in value forever. And I guess understanding where value comes from and why things are valued at whatever price they're at.
yeah.
Like I think like whenever like the Teo NFTs got unrugged and went up in value a lot, and like I think each NFT at its like peak was worth like 37, 40K each. And I was like, holy shit, like this is gonna keep going up in value, and like I'm getting this token allocation from these NFTs, and I can just like sell them on the market, and I'm making like 4K a month from these. Holy shit, like I can quit my job, and all that kind of stuff, right? When you start like thinking about things along those lines, you know, like something is getting to a value that is a bit too unsustainable
Mm,
because everyone's thinking about it the same way. And that should be like a sell signal and something to remind yourself that hey, it's time to sell.
mm,
So yeah, I think that's like my biggest learning is like when something sounds too good to be true, it probably is,
yeah.
and it's time to get the fuck out.
So like when everyone's kind of in the same boat, saying the same thing, expecting the same outcome, it's a bit
Yeah.
overvalued. Yeah. Um, you don't know, obviously have to talk about numbers or anything, but from the previous cycle, any big wins? Did you manage to like scoop up a couple of punks on the cheap and then sell them later, or you know, how did you go there?
Um. No, I think I actually probably like broke even for like like the NFT side of things.
That's better than
Um.
most, man. That is better than most.
Yeah, I think I got out for break even. I think like I still got out at a decent price for my Teos.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah, like I don't think there's like any notable wins. Like I think like my most notable win, so to say, was probably Teos. I think like what got me hooked to NFTs was like I think it was Galactic Geckos,
Yeah.
and like I remember like the first NFT I minted was that like rug of a NFT collection by KSI, the one with like I don't even know what it's called. Um, but like I got rugged on my first NFT project essentially that I minted, and Bungle's like, look, I'm gonna give you pretty much an options contract. It's worth 3 sol at the moment.
Mm.
You can sell it whenever you want and pay me back the 3 sol.
Yeah.
And I think I like sold it like 12 or 16 sol and sold like 200 at that point.
Nice.
So I was like, oh shit, like it is possible to make money in this space and whatnot. So I think that's what got me hooked, and that's like one of like my most memorable winnings because I think Bungle sort of was like, no, I want you to be involved in this space and like let me like forego making however much money just so like my friend can be involved in this as well. So I think it was cool from that perspective and nice from that perspective as like a memorable win.
Yeah. That's really wholesome from Bunjul. Shout out to Bunjul, giving you a 3 sol option contract with which you killed, made some profit on, which is nice.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was a good time.
Moving on, because you talked about NFTs kind of dying, in your opinion, after FTX, and you also said before that you knew that because these things are quite secular, that you wanted to stay around in the bear market to sort of maybe position yourself for upside. What was that like for you when price was sideways and not much going on? What were you sort of looking at and getting prepared for, I guess?
I think for me at that time, like it was just a matter of like waiting for price movement to happen.
Mm,
I think a lot of it was like understanding like what's being talked about in the market, understand like what people are thinking of which way the market's heading.
mm,
Understand what like I guess friends are working on,
Yeah.
to again know like where their heads at with things. So I think a lot of it, like again during that time period, during the sideways market period, was purely just like staying on top of things, right? It's like
Yeah.
obviously new AI was getting big in like the real world, but I didn't really cross over like the whole AI crypto concept until maybe like October
Yeah.
of 2023.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I think it was like yeah, just making sure I'm staying around, making sure that I have my thumb on top of like the pulse in terms of what is happening, or finger on the pulse, probably the right way to you say it. But having my finger on the pulse, making sure I know what's happening, what are the narratives that are emerging, and just staying involved that way.
Yeah.
That's sort of like that was like the level of my involvement. I can't speak. That was the level of my involvement.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, like if I got bullish on something, just like digging into it, and understanding and creating a thesis around it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Did you wait for price to move for then to develop a thesis, or were you kind of already like researching things when everything was dead to try and form a thesis on things that were investable back then?
I think for me, like I really started reallocating during October time period.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, like the October, like I think things had already gone up. I think Sol was like $40 already at that point, maybe a bit more.
Mm.
Um, and I mean, it was like a 2x. I mean, if you look at the grand scheme of things, yes, it could add up to be a lot of money.
Yeah.
Um, but at the time, it was like a 2x, so I didn't really think too much about it because again, I didn't know which way the market was heading, if Sol was gonna get revived or not, and all that kind of stuff. So I think for me, like I yeah, just kept researching, kept developing theses of why I'd be bullish on something and where I think things are going. I sort of went back and revisited like old lists of
Mm.
coins that I'd made, I guess earlier in the cycle, like at the end of the last cycle, moving into this cycle and seeing, cool, are these tokens still around? Is there still a justification into buying into these coins, all that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, a lot of those coins, I don't think they made it, or there wasn't any reason to be bullish on them anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like you kind of knew that things change pretty quickly, and even if you held a belief in something from a cycle or two ago, there's a fair chance that it may not have even come back.
Yeah, I mean, I think with like again, I think this cycle itself has really highlighted that belief in something is like a very hard concept to no, so it's not a hard concept, but it's something that you shouldn't get married to.
Mm.
Um, at the same time, because things do move quickly, and I think I can't remember. I don't know if it was like GCR or someone else that said something, but it was like pretty much when like something from the previous cycle doesn't end up being like bullish this cycle. What's the thing? So I'm just trying to remember it properly.
It sounds like something we could all learn
Yeah, I
if you
mean, I'm trying to
find
remember
it.
this thing. Like, like the concept was essentially like, actually no, the concept was essentially like when about like how to get bullish about something, right? When
Mm.
something's being like spoken about in one cycle, it doesn't get super bullish until the next cycle. So like for example, like AI might be like a hot topic this cycle to like a degree, right?
Mm.
Like people know about it and people are talking about it, but from whatever I had read, it was like, cool, yeah, it's like there's like a mini bubble right now about it,
Mm.
but there's going to be an even bigger, there's going to be an even bigger bubble of it in the next cycle, if there
Yeah.
is a next cycle, right? And if you really think about like that concept, look at L1s in 2017
Yeah.
versus L1s in 2021, 2022, right? How much how much bigger were they in 2021, 2022? So I think that same sort of thesis can be applied. So it's like cool if things are like people are talking about RWA right now, AI right now, all that kind of stuff. Like I think these topics of conversations are going to be a lot bigger whenever there's like the next sort of injection of cash into the ecosystem.
Yeah. I hadn't actually really thought of it from that perspective because you're right. In the 2017 one, it was all about ICOs and, the next, maybe not so much Bitcoin, but the next layer one that would be the revolutionary tech that would change the world. And I didn't think of the fact that that would roll over into the 2021 cycle and essentially be the same thing, just with a little bit more feature and functionality on their chains respectively. So yeah, I didn't actually think
Yeah,
of it from that perspective.
yeah.
Um,
I think it's gonna keep happening, and I mean, but then I mean, you could obviously like the thesis gets like dismissed if you think about it from like if you look at DeFi in 2017, or sorry, not 2017, 2021 compared to now, like no one's really talking about DeFi right now compared to 2021 or
mm,
2020. But I do think like I said earlier, like DeFi will come back in a big way this cycle.
mm, no, I agree with that. What were the assets that interested you this cycle from, October 2023 up until now? What has sort of caught your attention that you thought, they might be momentum plays or short-term or long-term holds? But yeah, keen to dive into this and get a bit more of an understanding of what you were looking at.
Yeah, so for me it was I guess Soul, and then Tau was like something I'm still very interested in Tau.
Mm,
Um, Tau was super interesting to me because it was like the whole decentralized AI sort of play with there being tangible AI to it rather than it just being like these slot bots that sort of popped up obviously during
slot bots.
the last
Yeah,
couple of months.
yeah.
So I think like that was really interesting to me, and like I was like a massive, massive Tau bull during like that October to like February period.
Yeah.
Um, and NMT was like super bullish for me as well.
Mhm.
Made like 5, 6, 7x in a couple of weeks on that.
Nice.
Um, and then
What's
I think the
NMT?
only
Sorry to jump in. What was MNT?
NMT, I can't remember. I think it was NMT. It was NMT was like a uh I can't remember right now like properly what it was, but it was a decentralized AI play, and like the founders obviously like had like an existing AI company like in the Web 2 space. They had like won some like London Business Award stuff as well,
Oh wow.
and like they had a really good team and like super bullish. There's like a thick LP play on like BNB and all that kind of stuff. Like the founder was like again was like very qualified in the AI space. They just made it like to me, it was like a very easy hold
Yeah.
as well at the time. Very good very professional and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then I think one of like the early miners got hacked and like dumped the price and all that kind of shit fucked
Oh
up.
no.
So I think I lost a lot of momentum. Still got out like on a decent exit.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, and then I think outside of obviously meme coins and the slot bots that sort of popped up in the last couple of months, the only other project which has like really caught my eye would be Sonic.
S-
Um,
oh, as in Phantom.
yeah, but as in Phantom, yes. I was like playing around with it. I think like 2.5 weeks ago before I think Twitter started talking about it a lot more this week.
Yeah.
Um, because like I was trying to like see where my thesis would come into play for the whole DeFi thing, and I think obviously Phantom being like a DeFi playground during the last cycle, I was like, this is where I think DeFi might happen again
Yeah.
on Sonic. Um, and obviously, like looking at the chart had bottomed out. On-chain activity was picking up. TVL, which is according to some people a shit metric to be measuring, but I saw that obviously picking up. So there's like activity increasing on the chain,
Mm.
and like I made like I think on Shadow I made like a 3, 4x on that.
Oh, nice.
Um, I mean, I wish I held it a bit longer. I would have been like a 10, 12x, but it
Can't
was
always
still
be
like
greedy.
yeah, no, that was me today on like one of my trades. But yeah, like I think Sonic could have a very bright future,
Yeah.
um, especially if they like specialize in like the whole DeFi space. I think we'll end up seeing like Solana maybe being like the whole meme casino type of thing, Sonic being like the DeFi playground,
Mm.
and I think like chains will become like specific in these different spaces. Like maybe AI will be on base, and then maybe like Hyperliquid would be like a perps only sort of chain.
Yeah.
I think things will end up like splitting into like these subsects of where things get specialized in certain chains.
Yeah. That's an interesting concept. Um, that's a little bit different from the Solana sort of ethos of everything being done on the chain. Did you believe that to be the case at one point in time, or have you always sort of held out and gone, well, Solana has all the memes, but I can definitely see like Sonic and Tau and Hyperliquid all having their own respective like TVL for certain specific activities that you can do on those chains.
I mean, as much as I'd love for everything to happen on Solana, right? It's just like what gets fostered there.
Mm,
And I don't think, I mean, in the last couple of months alone, like nothing outside of like meme coins has really been fostered or caught people's eyes, right, on Solana. Um, like there's no interesting DeFi plays. There's no like stupid high APY sort of plays.
yeah,
API, APY, APR plays. Like there hasn't been anything interesting enough where you want to put your money into the chain outside of meme coins, I guess.
mm,
Um, so I think there will be separate chains where certain founders push a certain voice or a certain what's the word I'm looking for? Like a certain message of like, hey, like this is a DeFi focused chain and like you want to do all your crazy APR stuff and looping and all that kind of stuff, you come to it on our chain. You want to do art stuff, you want to fucking I don't know, Bitcoin, you want to do I don't know, AI bots, you do it on base,
yeah,
so and so on. So I think we'll end up seeing like a breakdown of chains specializing certain things. And I mean, I wouldn't really see them as like competition. Um, you just think of them as separate dApps, right? I
yeah,
mean, you deposit your money onto like a certain dApp to use it, whether it's on Solana or you bridge over your funds and do it on Sonic. To me, it's the same thing. And I'm a money making maxi. If I see opportunity on another chain, I'm not gonna fucking fade it and stay on one chain.
yeah,
I'll move my funds, even if it's like people talk about friction like it's like it takes physical work to move money from one chain to another. They're retarded in that sense, but that's a whole separate rant.
yeah, yeah. Um, that's super interesting. Do you think, from a perspective of like marketing and business development, co-founders or the marketing teams of these respective chains have a better opportunity to capture TVL if they focus down on something that's like application specific rather than we can do everything on this chain type marketing or branding?
Like for certain metric growths, you mean?
Yeah, so like
Like
like a
for
dead.
example, if they want to like if they want to like bring on like for example, if they make Solana like the AI chain and all that kind of stuff, do you mean? Like for
Yeah,
them to
yeah,
double down on that?
yeah. So like I
I mean,
guess
they already
yeah.
do that.
Mm,
They already do that. Like I think I remember like seeing Solana Foundation a couple of weeks ago, 3 4 weeks ago, hiring like some like someone for like AI specific role, right? Like I don't know for like AI adoption or whatever the role was, but they wanted to bring someone into the foundation team
mm,
that can help onboard people to build AI stuff on their chain. But they weren't obviously pushing that specific that hey we're an AI chain only
mm,
and that's all that happens on this chain. They're trying to be a generalist chain, and I don't think generalist chains will thrive in the long run as much as I would like for generalist chains to thrive.
yeah,
I think there'll be like a lot of chain specific things that happen. Like there'll be AI specific chains, there'll be DeFi chains, like I've said, NFT chains, or maybe not NFTs.
yeah,
But there'll be separate chains where all of these things happen. And then there might be a generalist chain which does do things to a certain level and a certain degree that people are happy with. But I think specialist chains could be what happens next cycle,
mm,
and in a big way as well, not just like what it is right now.
yeah. I think it makes logical sense, right? Like, um, I guess with all this other technology coming through, like ZK proofs and all that sort of good stuff, that the technology on paper sounded terrific a couple of years ago. I wanted to talk about, correct me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, but is it called schloms? Is is that what it's called?
Yeah, Shalom's the nothing coin.
The nothing. Yeah. So what was like that whole thing about? Because I actually spent, I reckon, 10 minutes of time that I'll never get back trying to understand it, and I was unsuccessful. I think I even may have asked you about it at one stage, and it still went over my head.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the whole Shalom's coin was quite interesting
Mm,
from the perspective of like, again, was like is a reputable artist, and I think one of like the theses that I had with Bohm kind of crossed over into this.
mm,
It was like who are the people that are backing this project
yeah.
in just like early stages, and if you like dug into it, you had reputable people that cared about their reputation backing it, right? It wasn't like vape cabal type of people, or wasn't like what's it called? It wasn't like random like nobody named sort of pushing this like agenda slash coin, right?
Mm,
There were reputable people like, for example, like Udi, from like the Bitcoin ecosystem. There was Min Dynasty. That's like the Azuki PFP guy.
yeah.
And there's like a couple of other people as well who were really like being like, yeah, like a bullish on Shalom and all that kind of stuff. So when you have like these key figure people being bullish and being prominent in the space as well, it gives like a, I mean, not a floor value to it, and it's not a floor value to the coin, but it gives you confidence in the coin
Yeah.
that'll pop off. And then when you kind of like, when I dug into it, I could tell that it was obviously going to be a bit of an AI play.
Yeah.
Again, AI was like a very hot topic. Um, Knew that he was like doing something with like the Gods NFT account. Knew that what's it called was involved. Um, Blanking out. Uh, Noose Research is like involved with the project as well, which is like again a reputable team within like the AI sort of hemisphere sphere, whatever you want to call it. Um, so you could see like that there was like things lining up, and then it'd pop off in a long way, in a big
Yeah.
way. Sorry. That's why I was like bullish on it. That's why I made money on it, I guess, as well. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
like the thesis was there, and I mean, I was sweating balls at one point because I bought it 20 something mil and dropped down to like 13 mil, 10 mil, something like that,
Oh
and like
no.
people like questioning me that had bought after me. They're like, "Yo, like, are you still bullish?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm bullish." I'm like sweating, and I feel like double down because I'm like, I've got so many other people to buy in with me because like I believed in it so much that like everyone else believed in it as well, right? They're like, "Oh, Bala's bullish, and I'm bullish," type of thing.
Yeah.
And luckily it did recover. So I mean, it recovered and thrived. I think it went to like 200 mil.
200 mil.
So yeah.
Gee, nice play. The way that you research Schloms, is that generally like the rule of thumb of how you approach most like investment opportunities, the level of due diligence that you did?
Um, yeah, I would say so to a large degree.
Mm.
I think you have to obviously adapt the way you research.
Yeah.
Like I think Schlom's coin, or like the Nothing coin, like had a lot more lore to it, a lot more depth to it than what some other AI coins did. I think, like I guess being AI specific right now, like Schlom's was like a very early coin to like the whole AI side of things, right? But then you kind of saw the AI subsector sort of evolve.
Yeah.
We kind of saw like launchpads become a thing, and
Mm.
like serverless. Fuck, I can't remember what it was, but like Snake, whatever it was like they were solving something about like providing servers for AI projects and stuff like that. And so I think you need to adapt your metrics as well in
Yeah.
terms of like how you're assessing it. And I think one of like the things I was trying to like, I guess, expand and I guess teach the other autist cabal guys was, yeah, like at the end of the day, we don't know how to value anything in this space. AI especially, no one knows how to fucking value AI, and AI projects were definitely very overvalued when they were a big thing in the Slide ecosystem and base ecosystem.
Mm.
But like whenever I'd be evaluating like an AI project, I would my first thing is like what is the theoretical addressable market? Like
Yeah.
what are the TAM here, right? What's the total addressable market in theory? Why would people want to use this, and what is it solving, right?
Yeah.
Because the AI stuff evolved from being attention bots to being like a utility play at the same time, or pivot to a utility play. So yeah, I think like understanding what you're assessing, and
Mm.
then creating metrics of how you measure it is important, I think. And that's sort of how I adjust my research.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Do you think when you talked about being adaptable to the way that you research investment opportunities, do you think that that changes with speed of money moving around in ecosystems? Like, have you found yourself kind of sizing up an opportunity and realizing that maybe the market might react a little bit quicker than you might have time to research what you're actually buying? Have you come across those certain scenarios, or do you not just you wouldn't touch those if they did present?
Um, yes, like I think in the AI, um, again, I think AI was like a very interesting time.
Mm.
And I definitely found myself sort of aping in and researching later a lot in that time period because
Yeah.
when it got really hot, and things would like move really quickly, right? I think
Mm.
like Arc moved from like being worth nothing to like 40 mil within like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Um, and that's it could be the difference of you entering at 5 mil versus 18 mil, right? Like if you're spending 20 minutes trying to research something,
Mm.
the market's going to move very quickly against you. But then, like for example, like the Vine coin that popped up and Jelly Jelly
Mm.
and all that kind of stuff, like I didn't see any value in them, and so I just never bought them. I just like I'm happy being sidelined on this. Like, was there like a sense of FOMO? Yes, but at the same time, I was just like I don't understand why people are bidding this right
Yeah.
now. Um, like I again, I couldn't come up with a thesis, right? And I think it could have been attributed to the fact that like I'd come out of this AI mindset
Yeah.
where I was thinking very rigidly about like, all right, cool, like this is addressing this issue, this is doing this, and so it was easier to like measure things.
Yeah.
Whereas with like Jelly Jelly and Dog and Cat coins recently, like I haven't had any interest in bidding in them because there's nothing to research. I can't like I can't apply myself in a way that like makes me create a bullish thesis.
Yeah. I see what you mean by that. Because like sometimes like it's just not worth it with the amount of unsuccessful coins that are launched. You know, I can imagine a scenario where it probably isn't worth trying to like rush into every single thing that's launched on Solana.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like if I can't develop a thesis with like how am I going to bid it, right?
Yeah.
And how I'm going to hold conviction in it. Um, I'd end up spewing like every bag if it goes down 20-30% because I'm like, oh shit, this is going to zero,
Mm.
and then obviously it would run up against me and I'd be coping even more. So it's just easier for me not to fucking to get involved in those things than try and get involved and come up with a thesis, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair point. I wanted to ask you because I think you would actually have a really good perspective on this. What was your views of meme coins versus NFTs? In the sense, I guess, with Murad talking about how they were better than meme coins. Pardon me, better than meme coins were better than NFTs, and that they had the potential of forming religions and so forth. How did you sort of feel with what he was saying, and did you see any sort of synergies, I guess, with a lot of the meme coins that were sort of popping off on ETH and Solana?
Um, like where did I see it going?
Or
Is
did
like
you what did you think that they were the same thing that people were speculating on? Like similar to the NFTs when people were buying them up a lot and spending ridiculous amounts of money on JPEGs. Did you see that same sort of behavior, I guess, with meme coins for the similar reasons, I guess?
no, I think like with meme coins, I think like what made it easy to be bullish on meme coins was it was easy, like the liquidity.
Mm.
I think I mean, I don't know if I'm answering this correctly. I was distracted by the Bitcoin chart because there was like a massive move from like, well, like relatively massive, like $300 in that one candle. Anyway, sorry.
Good.
Um, yeah, good. I mean, I've got a short open.
Wish I was that profitable,
I
man.
mean, well, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for my ask to be get hit at like 9.96.2. I might
96.2.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I want to like close it off or not. It's like scandal scaring me.
Well, by the end of this stream, we'll probably
uh,
know if you're liquidated or in profit. What do you reckon?
yeah. All right. Yeah. I'll avoid looking at the chat. But coming back to your questions, did I see? Look, differences with like meme coins and NFTs was the liquidity side of things, right?
Mm,
Anyone could be a community member for a meme coin. Not everyone could be a community member for a NFT project, right?
yeah,
You couldn't, like, people couldn't afford a fucking $20,000 JPEG, right?
yeah,
Um, whereas anyone can get involved and be in the Ticker Bitcoin community by holding one Ticker Bitcoin
mm,
meme coin, right?
yeah,
And they'll do bull posting and think it's going to $1 million, but obviously the supply doesn't match up. But anyways, my point is like I think because of like accessibility, yes, like I feel like you know what, if like the whole AI thing didn't happen, the AI meta didn't happen, we could have probably still been like, in that believe in something meta,
mm,
and meme coins would have been fine,
yeah,
and meme coins could have been a lot bigger right now.
yeah. Do you see meme coins being over at this sort of period of time?
Um, I think we're seeing like a large movement to like value creating projects right now.
Mm,
Um, like the only meme coins that are running besides obviously like Day of the what is it? Taste of the Day? Taste of the Day coins is like projects that have like some value. Like I think the last big coin to run off the top of my head was like SSE, like the Solana social ecosystem. I can't remember what the name of the fucking thing was. But I don't know if you remember ticker SSE.
no.
It was like it's some like Solana something Explorer something.
Oh, Solana,
And
the Explorer. Yeah, I remember that one.
yeah, that the Explorer thing. Um, like that's like the last coin in my head that like ran to like a decent amount, right?
Mm,
And that was purely because like they did have some form of tangible value that they're building out. Obviously like VC backed, etc., etc. But they had tangible value. Um, whereas you look at other meme coins, they're not running anywhere.
mm,
So yeah, I don't think meme coins are dead. I think they're going through a lull, and people are moving to different ecosystems and sort of buying things up in those ecosystems right now.
yeah.
And I
Um,
think,
mm,
and that could be like where we see like sort of that DeFi renaissance that I've been harping on about.
yeah, like a return to value. You think now that the meme coin mania is kind of subsided, you think we could get a little bit of a return to value with some tangible real world use case?
Yeah, like real world use case or like DeFi Ponzi, all that kind of stuff is like where I think because at the end of the day, DeFi Ponzi's are like still a form of gambling, which is what fucking meme coins are as well, right?
Yeah,
But so I do see like people moving into like different subsectors of crypto,
yeah,
and again, I'm glad that it's happening because it gives time for people to make money and put up wealth again before they sort of go gambling again on meme coins and whatnot.
mm,
Um, and I think like the next 6 months to the end of the year is going to be very dry anyway. So it'll be interesting to see. Like I'm happy meme coins are quiet right now, even though I've made decent amount of money from there.
yeah. Well, that was my next question. Was what were some memorable coin trades for you?
Memorable meme coin trades. There's a few of them.
Mm,
I think my most favorite ones, two of them. I think yeah, I'd say two of them. Obviously, Boom,
mm,
which I think set me on the map with the Autos Cabal. Um, And then I think the other one would be Slurf as well. 'Cause I think I helped the entire gang get on that one, or most of the gang get on Slurf, as well. So I think those two are like my most memorable plays. I think Slurf was just like funny because when I think we realized that hey, the token value can only go up in value, then everyone sort of aped it and started making money because like we realized that hey, people can't get a token there's no real token in circulation, and everyone's just like max bidding because it's just such a fucking PVE situation.
Yeah. So,
Um,
so for those who don't know, because I'm actually not familiar with what happened with Slurf, um,
oh really?
yeah, I knew it popped off and I knew that there was like a meme about it, but I'm not actually 100% sure why it was so successful. So, like, could you explain to us what the Slurf trade was or what happened with Slurf?
Yeah, sure. So pretty much with Slurf, what had happened was these devs like did like the pre-sale wallet, and they're setting up the LP, and rather than burning the LP, they burnt the actual tokens that they're meant to allocate to like the people that had bid the pre-sale, or that had sent money for the pre-sale wallet to the pre-sale wallet. So effectively, say that you're meant to get 1,000 tokens, you weren't able to get that soul pair token because they had burnt the fucking tokens that were meant to get distributed. So this liquidity pool had
All the
the liquidity
tokens.
there, and all the tokens were burnt as a part of like the liquidity pool. So you could like it was just getting bid up because it was such a thick LP. Plus, it was just funny because the guy just burnt a shit ton of tokens worth the stupid amount of money that he was meant to distribute to this entire community that had sent him Solana. And the guy was like crying on spaces and stuff. But I think like this left trade, what it ended up being was because no one was able to get access to the tokens, and there was no um so because no one was able to get access to the tokens, there was no sell pressure,
Mm,
and it was a thick LP play.
yeah. Okay, that
And it was
makes
just
sense.
like it had mind share for like the next 2 3 days.
Yeah, and that's when he posted the meme, right? When he was like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That
I
was the meme.
I want to pull up the Slurf chart so I
Oh,
can
fuck.
see what it looks like, just so I can get an
I mean,
understanding.
it probably looks fucking terrible. I think like they sold off the project and like the project ended up rugging or something. But yeah.
Market cap's like 40 mil. Let's have a look at it. Oh wow, went to almost $1 billion. That's crazy.
Yeah, so you could just imagine. And then I think we were sitting on Twitter. I don't know where you were. And then I told everyone, I'm like, hey, like buy Slurf because like this is how it's gonna play out.
Mm.
And I think like a decent amount of people made like decent coin on it
Oh,
in the
that's
chat.
good. I must have been the one of the lucky ones that bought later to be able to let everyone exit. Maybe. No,
Yeah, I
I
think
completely
you might
missed
have
that.
been the exit liquidity.
Yeah.
Might have been people's exit liquidity, or like who knows what you were doing. Maybe I don't know. But it was a good trade. It was a fun trade.
Mm,
I think. And I mean, bro, it was 11 months ago. 11 months, 6 days ago.
that's crazy.
Like looking at when this coin was created. 11 months, 6 days. It's
Man,
like what
that's
happened yesterday, bro.
yeah.
But I mean, it was just a meme, right? Because it was just like something unbelievable happened in a sense, where this guy. I mean, you look at it right now. The LP is 43. The liquidity is 43.6 mil. The FDV is fucking 41 mil. Stupid.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's really insane that you saw that and then just took advantage of it because I feel like that took off and like I remember kind of getting notifications about it. I remember what I was doing at the time actually. I was like coaching, I think, and the whole day I just wasn't on my phone. And I remember that night that we were just talking, and they're like, "Yeah," because I think they spoke about how you told people. I think maybe it was like Sticks or 1L or something like that. They were saying that you told people to get into the trade, and yeah, I just looked at it and I was like, I took me kind of a while to kind of figure out what was going on, but it
Like
was
what
just the
was going on?
yeah, it was just the meme that was circulating, and then I didn't understand why it was like going up so much. But the way that you explained it, with the fact that there was no sell pressure and a large liquidity pool, makes for like a pretty decent Ponzi.
Yeah, no one could like again. Everyone was talking about it. Large LP, guys crying on Twitter, and like it was just like the perfect storm of like no sell pressure as well because there was no fucking tokens to dump on your head.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, it was a fun little time, I'd say.
it was like the height of the
And
pre-sale
then
meta
boom.
as well, wasn't it? Like people were
Yeah,
actually
yeah, yeah,
sending funds to pre-sales.
yeah. People sent funds, people losing a lot of money. But I think it was a good time still.
Yeah, and tell us about Bone. The
The
famous Bohm
elusive
trade.
Bohm play, the famous Bohm trade. Yeah. So Bohm trade was like my first seven-figure win. I think with that it was quite similar where I told everyone to get in, and I don't think anyone listened because it was like one of my first plays with with the chat and whatnot. But yeah, I think with Bohm I put in like 15, 20K at like a 15 mil market cap. Um, I quickly evaluated what was happening with the project. I just saw a thick LP, saw the founder had saw the founder of the project was like a known artist within the space.
Mm,
The people that were backing it were like somewhat reputable people. I wouldn't say they were like as reputable people as like the Nothing Coin, but they're like somewhat reputable people. And so these three things had kind of like lined up for me.
mm,
Um, and it just bid. Like I remember, like I was kind of like done with meme coins at that point, and I think earlier that day I had sold off some of my towel to buy like the Portnoy coin.
yeah.
And like, the Portnoy meme coin that was sort of popping off at that time. And then I was like, oh, this like coin sucks. Like it's not going up. I'm losing money, so I sold it. And then Boom came out, and I kind of like, oh fuck, this looks cool. And I just chucked all that money into there, and ended up sort of playing out. And then I just remember like the chart going up like every 10 minutes, like in a insane way, right? It just kept going up, kept going up, kept going up. I didn't sleep for like 2 days essentially.
Wow.
I think like yeah, like I barely slept because I was just like in shock of like how much money I was making. Um, and I remember like being up like two, three, 500K, and I was like, yeah, this isn't life-changing money. Until I got to a point where I'm like, yeah, this is life-changing money at this point, right?
Yeah.
Being up seven figures, I was like, I think I was like, I'd go to Bungel's house like the second night of the trade.
Yeah.
We were like watching like we're watching the chart on the screen, drinking and like eating and whatnot. And then I think I just like came home and was like laying in bed staring at the chart still. And I think it was just like, yeah, like this amount of money is like an insane amount. I need to start selling it. And I started like clipping out 200K at a time to like
Oh my god.
take my money out and make it like sit it in stables. Um,
Wow.
just to be like, all right, cool. Like I need to close out this trade. Like I need to like is an insane amount of money for like someone my age. So I just had to call it there and then, and it was like, yeah, all right, cool. Like I'm out of this trade.
Wow. That's insane.
Um, but was a fun trade and exciting. Yeah, hopefully it happens again.
Yeah. I think that's so cool. Well, maybe not cool. It's the first time I've heard of someone, you two hanging out and just like, eating and drinking while staring at a chart on a screen. It's like Netflix and chill, but like the crypto Twitter version.
The crypto degenerate version. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've done it a couple of times. I think we've done it like with like PopCat Mew. I think one time we're just staring at it, and watching the charts like fucking around,
Yeah.
being like, just like massive crypto bros. But I think the Boom trade is just like something like insanely like special, I guess, in a sense, because of
Yeah.
how ridiculous it was. Um, like, and the thing was, it wasn't just me and him. It was like
Mm.
the other boys came over as well, and they were drinking and like celebrating that like Bala's making all this fucking money.
Oh, that's
They,
awesome, man.
they weren't getting anything out of it, but they were like, yeah, like our boy's making money, like let's fucking party. That's essentially what ended up happening. And like one of my mates was in like he was in China like like he was on holidays and he was
Y-
like FaceTime like FaceTime me.
Yeah.
And we're like FaceTiming him and drinking and I was just like euphoric and obviously like in tears like what the fuck was happening in that moment, right? Um so yeah,
Wow. Yeah.
wholesome time.
Congrats, man. I think like when you were talking about how you held it for a couple of days, I think trying to sleep while that was going on must have been pretty tough. How did you like manage your
And
emotions during that time?
I think my emotions were fine. I think it was just like I think the main thing was like seeing it go up in value was like I need to like I'm here to make life changing money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100K, 200. I mean, like I know it sounds very stupid to say like 100K is like not a lot of money, but
Mm.
at the same time, like 100K is not going to change someone's life in a country like Australia, for example.
Yeah.
It's not like a significant enough amount of money for someone to be like, ah, cool, like I can get up my feet and like not have to worry about money anymore, right?
Yeah.
So I think from that perspective, like that was like my thought process as well. So it was easy to manage emotions in that sense. Um, and then I think like it was also just I was just excited that like hey something was like going right.
Yeah, man.
um, yeah, like it was just a euphoric time, and I mean, I believe like the way Bone played out was like a time and place thing as well. Um, like God made me sick that day, and I was like ended up not going into the office for work.
Yeah.
It was like meant to go to like after work drinks that day as well.
So
So
you
it
would
was
have been
like
out of action the whole
cool, like
day, not looking at the screens.
yeah, I would have been out of action like when that happened because it happened in the evening. I would have been like at the bar drinking.
Yeah.
But it didn't end up happening like that. It ended up me being at home, being on Twitter at the right time, and seeing what Bone was, and sort of coming up with a thesis about it. Right.
Mm.
If I was out that evening, I wouldn't have seen it, and I would have been coping about it. But now I got to tell some story.
Yeah. Oh no, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. How did you go with? I've heard other people talk about this as well. When they win big, they continue to keep betting, and they still kind of they don't adjust their size. They keep betting big. Did you take any time off after the Bohm trade? Did you reinvest it elsewhere? What were you sort of doing afterwards?
Yes, yeah, I think I kind of did fall into that sort of like, I think a false sense of security of like, oh, cool, like I know what I'm doing, like
Yeah.
overconfidence or arrogance, coming off like a big win. Like, my thing was like, yeah, cool, like I made money on that, and then like made like six figures on Slurf, made like a lot of money on like Hobbs as well during that. It was like all
Mm.
during that sort of like 1 month period.
Yeah.
And then I think I like blew up a decent amount. Not like it wasn't that much, I guess I would say. But like I blew up some money on like Mew. I was like top blasting Mew at one point.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because I was like, oh yeah, like holy shit, like, and then came up with like a stupid conspiracy theory about this coin, about like how it's like related to like Shiba Inu and all that kind of stuff, and
Mm.
falling into like this like, oh, so this is the next Shiba Inu. This is like my 7 figures is gonna 40x, and I want to make like high eight figures or something like
Oh
that, right?
wow. Yeah.
Um,
Right. Okay.
so it was like that sort of mindset. Like I was like almost full porting
Invincible.
into this. Yeah, and then I kind of like quickly realized that like I need to adjust and whatnot, and yeah, kind of ended up adjusting.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I think there was like that false sense of security slash um yeah, there was like that false sense of security slash expectation that, oh, I know what I'm doing,
mm.
rather than realizing that, hey, no, I got lucky in a sense as well.
Yeah.
Like right place, right time. Like obviously there was like a skill in a sense of like knowing what to look for and evaluating how much to size in at that point of time.
Yeah.
But then I also need to like realize that, hey, like I got lucky in a sense of like being able to find that coin at the right time and being able to appropriately size at that time as well, right? Um, so I think that taught me a lesson after like the new play, as well, and like after some other plays as well. Like cool, like yes, I made this money, but I need to be responsible with this money as well now. It's
Mm.
not it's not $500, $2,000, whatever. It's 7 figures.
Yeah.
So it's like adjusting like what you're doing, I guess, and how you value it,
Yeah.
or how I value it. Sorry.
Yeah. How did that compare to when you referred to the NFTs in the previous cycle? You kind of knew that things were getting frothy and that, everyone was piling in and believing that it would last forever and buying, ridiculously priced JPEGs just to flex. Like, did it occur to you that you could be in a moment of like repeating that same bubble-esque type style event when you were aping these meme coins and hitting these winners like you did?
So not so much with the meme coins. Um, I didn't realize it with the meme coins, to be honest. Like
Mm,
during that March, 2024 period.
yeah.
Um, I think I realized it with the AI trade.
With the AI trade like virtuals
Like
and AI 16Z, that sort of thing.
yeah, exactly. Like I kind of realized that, hey, this is like topping out now. Like I
Mm,
mean, I lost like a decent coin on like redacted or whatever. But I think overall, my downside was protected a lot better than it would have been
Mm.
if I didn't pick up on it. But I think like one thing I've like been focusing on internalizing is if I'm making too much money too easily, then everyone is making too much money too easily,
Yeah.
and there is a bit of a bubble happening. Like if everyone's printing six figures on a daily basis, then there's too much money in the ecosystem. There's too much money right now, and something needs to go down.
That's a pretty humble perspective to take, though, right? Like, especially with the winners that you had, to be able to like go, oh yeah, I'm making lots of money, but it's nothing too special because everyone else is making lots of money. Therefore, there is probably a blow off top or a top of this, hype and froth at some point.
Yeah, like I said, like when you realize, like again, like I don't think I'm a skilled trader per se.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I might be able to come up with like a thesis and like put my mind and apply my mind and research something.
Mm.
Um, but it's like being very realistic as well with like knowing who you are as an individual, and if it's getting too easy to make money, then and everyone you think about like with NFTs, right? Like if I apply like the same logic of NFTs, when NFTs were going up and every NFT that got minted was going up in value, like there came a time when it blew off top, right? Where Punk stopped going up,
Mm.
Bored Ape Yacht Club stopped going up, all that kind of stuff. It was like that similar sort of mindset that I applied to this, and I think for me, I guess I didn't apply NFTs, but I applied what happened in March of last year.
Yeah.
And I was able to apply what happened in the March of last year, like after Bohm and all the other meme coins, that things do subside. There's obviously outperformers in certain places,
Mm.
but things do subside. Things do quieten down.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely feels like that now. I was going to ask you,
Yeah.
like, what are your current thoughts on? I mean, you touched on it a little bit with chains being more specialized and not all encompassing, but what are your thoughts on the market currently and where do you see it heading?
Um, where do I see it heading? I do think we're gonna enter into like a lull period.
Mm.
I think with the market not running for like the last couple of weeks, off the back of good news, off the back of like sale and bidding and like bus not breaking 100K,
Mm.
I think it kind of shows that we're kind of topped out from like a. I mean, again, it got to be a local top.
Yeah.
Um, you have to also consider that March is like when taxes are payable. I think in the US,
Mm.
so I think we're going to see a natural sell-off into the March period from that perspective.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the cycle top isn't in. I'm still trying to work out whether I believe Bitcoin is going to still keep going through cycles.
Mm.
Um, like, will Bitcoin just become a gold-like asset, which it has its ups and downs and those kind of periods?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like I need to work that out as well, I guess. I think come up with like my theory on that. Um, but I mean, I'm trading Bitcoin now for like the first time in like a serious manner,
Mm.
um, which has been an interesting learning experience within itself, um, and a fun experience. And I think, yeah, it's been interesting.
Yeah. So when we'll come back to the trading because I think that's a good discussion, especially around practices, what you look for, what style of trading you like to do. When you say that you don't think, well, you're considering if Bitcoin will actually follow the 4 year cycle. Um, what makes you think that, and how do you look at it to sort of confirm that idea or to dismiss that idea? What are you looking for in terms of metrics?
Well, sorry, in terms of whether I think the 4 year cycle will happen or won't happen, or
Well, you were kind of thinking that Bitcoin might not go through cycles anymore.
yeah, I think so. With why I don't think it might go through cycles anymore is institutional adoption.
Mm.
I think institutional adoption obviously limits. I mean, the manipulation, I guess, from like the institutional side of things, but there's institutional money like holding floors and and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
I think if you think about like I mean I haven't looked at the depths of things, but I think Bitcoin, for example, back in 2017, 2021 was largely held by individuals that had a lot of capital
Mm.
and that were trading. I mean, there's obviously crypto hedge funds and whatnot back then, but there wasn't like these JP Morgans buying ETFs and all that kind of stuff, right?
Mm.
Um, so I think because of that, like Bitcoin will become like a more stabilized asset or like a high like we might fucking range in like this 90K range for fucking the next 6 years, who knows?
Yeah.
But I think the trenches won't survive that.
Nah, no one would.
But my point is, I think because there is such large institutional demand slash backing at this point
Yeah.
that the downside has been mitigated to an extent, to a relative large extent.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you mean. Yeah, because now it's like everyone owns it. There's constant flows coming in from institutions. Why would it kind of crash off like it did in the previous cycle?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that. I mean, I think the only thing that would maybe like dismiss the idea of it would be like depending on like what the economic cost of like mining Bitcoin ends up being.
Mm.
Um, I think that could obviously change. That could be like the only factor that fuels um, cycles. But I
Yeah.
think demand demand has been outweighing supply by like a long shot.
Mm. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. That's super interesting. Yeah. It's. I feel like like that sort of thinking is the one that like you can often get caught off guard with. I think I remember hearing it last cycle where people were like, "Oh, because it's now the deflationary hedge, it shouldn't go down in periods of high inflation." Um,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I get that, but like, I guess for me, I guess in the current state, like I've changed like what I'm trading and
mm,
how I'm trading. Like I never traded perps before.
mm,
I think like I maybe tried to trade perps 3 or 4 times, and I just didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
mm,
Um, like I didn't even know, like I didn't know how to like what a cross or limited, or sorry, not limited, an isolated versus a cross fucking margin mode was, all that kind of stuff, right? I was just like, well, yeah, cool. We got like something backing this and doing perps, and I didn't know what I was doing at that time. Um, but my point is like, even if Bitcoin goes down, like I'll be in a position to obviously at this current stage of like what I'm trading or like what I'm enjoying trading is I'll be in a position to be like, alright, cool, if the market goes down, I can still short it on the
yeah,
way down.
mm,
Um, rather than left bag holding like a on-chain meme coin at the moment.
mm,
Um, so I think like yeah, I think being in tune with Bitcoin in that sense has been is as well. It gives me a bit more of a large perspective.
yeah. How's it been trading perps? Because you said you recently started getting into it. What's that been like?
It's been a good experience. I think like my weekly updates are like week one, week two, and
Mm,
this is week three now. I think week one, like I was saying earlier when we were talking, I think I got lucky to a decent extent. Like I knew what I was looking for,
mm,
but I was trading in the right direction, the right bias. So that played out for me. Last week wasn't as good because I was trading against um the trend of Bitcoin, like the daily, weekly trend of Bitcoin.
yeah,
Um, and because I was trading against it, like I kept getting fucking stopped out, and I'm like, why is this happening? Like, and I mean, a lot of it was also just I was like firing from the hip. I wasn't really looking at levels.
mm,
And then I think this week, like I guess like today was like one of like I'm like they spent the entire weekend slash end of last week after getting stopped out every fucking other day.
yeah,
Like learning about I guess liquidity zone and like how all of this sort of works and sort of plays into one another.
mm,
And I think that kind of opened my eyes into like how I need to be trading.
yeah,
Um, like obviously having your directional bias setting a limit order, setting a stop loss, and just like walking away from the trade and hoping that obviously plays out the way you want it to play out. But I think like it's been interesting. I think it's been interesting um, learning conceptually how the market is manipulated in a sense,
Mm,
but then also working out why charts react/act the way they are, right?
mm,
Because like I think when you're trading on chain, you just know, hey, you're just trading against other people, and there's no real patterns that form, and there's no real thought behind it.
mm,
Just yeah, haha, I bid this and fucking number went up. Um, Whereas trading Bitcoin, and I guess like with the adoption level that it's at right now, and the institutional money that it's at right now, you kind of start understanding, I guess, on a deeper level, or I've started understanding, me personally, on a deeper level, why crypto or why Bitcoin moves the way it moves,
yeah,
especially the ones that have these such large volumes. That at the end of the day, the charts move based off supply and demand. Whereas when you're trading meme coins, like you don't really think about it that way. Like you obviously know the value of a token is based on supply and demand, but I don't think you really conceptualize it in the trenches.
mm,
I think in the trenches you kind of just like, oh shit, like cool numbers going up, sold it, made my money and walked away type of thing. You don't really think about it from like a supply and demand perspective, and why supply and demand would pivot from a certain point, because it's just like, I mean, you look at how stupid some of the charts from the last month, right?
mm,
Look at like Jelly or again Vine, they're just up only. There was no theory of why they kept going up in value so much.
mm,
Um, Whereas like with Bitcoin, you kind of see where like SVGs get built out, like looking at the different order blocks and all that kind of stuff, and again just understanding why it's moving in the direction that it's moving, and why it's rejecting from where it's rejecting, and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's been really interesting, and I think like learning about liquidity, and I think just doing a deeper dive into like fundamentals of trading has been eye-opening in that sense.
yeah. And where have you learned all this from? Because you've said that you're 3 weeks in. I feel like you're speaking with a lot of experience already. Where have you been like learning this information?
A lot of it's been asking. Oh, well, I wouldn't say a lot of it's been asking when I'll ask, when I'll obviously random questions here and there about like hyperliquid
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. Um, but I think a lot of it's been like I've literally just messaged like a couple of dudes on Twitter. Like I think there's a guy called Ritesh, which I like messaged being like, hey, like where did you learn your stuff from?
Mm.
I think he had pointed me towards uh what's that guy? Crypto Cred. Like
Crypto
he's like
grad. Yeah.
he has like his videos. I mean, to be honest, I didn't end up watching too much of it because I think his voice is like very monotone in it. So it didn't really capture my interest. But then I ended up speaking to like Warren Muppet, which you might have
Mm.
heard of.
Yes. Yeah.
He gave some like actual advice, and then I think just YouTube as well, like
Mm.
just googling on you, like sorry, not googling, YouTubing like trading videos, and then specifically like, all right, cool, like understanding market structure, and like understanding what a breakout is, and what a change of structure is, and all these kind of like concepts which get talked about but not understood
Mm.
by people. 'Cause, like you'll see like someone with experience in trading on Twitter be like, oh, like the daily structure has changed, right?
Mm.
And people start parroting the daily structure has changed. A lot of people don't know what the daily structure changing is, what it means, right? People just
That is true.
say it
Yeah.
to sound smart. People just say it to sound smart, but like, what does a change of structure mean
Mm.
when you look at a chart?
Mm.
So I'm like, I want to learn these concepts. So rather than hearing about it on Twitter 7 days after it happens, I can know it like immediately when it happens, in a sense.
Yeah.
Um, so just like Google, like YouTubing these concepts, because I'm more of a visual learner than like a pure audio learner or a reader.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, I just YouTube like whatever I need to find out and learn about to then increase my knowledge, and then I will. like whatever I've learned in that sort of video or the day or like the week, I just make sure that I start applying those concepts to my trading.
Yeah.
And I think I've also like what I'm focusing on this week, specifically, I guess when it comes to perp trading, is like letting my trades play out as well, like not forming into a trade, like just because like I think like an example today would be I had like bids at like 95.03k at 95, yeah, 95.30k, no, sorry, $95,030 I had bids at, right?
Mm.
And I think like Bitcoin had like come down overnight to about like 95 point like 2k.
Mm.
And so I feel like Bala last week would have just FOMO'd into that sort of bounce rather than letting the coin come back to my entry. And then I guess by the end of the day, my coin, like the coin did come back to my entry. It came down to like 95, whatever it was. I can't remember what it came down to. But I got my bid filled and closed it for like a 20% profit.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
So I think it's like just being more patient with like my trades. And yeah, just like watching things play out has been sort of something that I've learned as well. Like, yeah, like
Yeah.
let my thesis play out because I mean, otherwise you're not going to learn, right? If you just close every trade because it's going $50 in the wrong direction, you're not going to learn from it.
That is true. Are you at the state, because you're talking weeks at a time with some of these like things that take place with your trading? Are you journaling actively? Are you constantly going back over your trades to assess where you're going wrong or where you're going right, and then just continuously building on that?
I've been tweeting about it, obviously.
Mm.
Tweeting about it on Twitter.
Yep.
I think mentally I've been like keeping note of things. I definitely should be journaling things as well.
Yeah.
Because I know that's like one of the big things that people do talk about. Um, but I think for me it's like, alright, cool. Like I think I tried to trade not last week, the week was it last week or the week before? I tried to trade the like the US inflation data or whatever.
Mm.
And I realized that hey, like I don't actually have an edge here. Like why am I trying to like after I chop myself up during those like 2 hours?
Mm.
I'm like I realized I'm like I don't have an edge here. Like why am I trying to trade inflation data?
Yeah.
Like because with inflation data or whatever data came out that night, it wasn't just inflation, right? It was like other datas that came out, and the market is finding itself at that point in time to find an equilibrium, and so you naturally get chopped up
Yeah.
when you don't know enough. So I think at that point that was like an eye-opening thing for me, where I was like, all right, cool. This is not like a time that I should be trading. This should be a time for me to observe and purely observe.
Yeah.
So those are sort of like things I've made like a mental note of
Mm.
that, yeah, like I can enjoy trading and all that kind of stuff, but I don't have to get involved in a trading perspective because I don't know how the market's going to react during this time period. There's hedge fund managers which have years and years and years of experience and quants that fucking did stupid stuff in university that are able to process this data and understand this data. And I'm like, I have no interest in competing with these people. I can just compete when I want to compete rather than getting involved in in these situations.
Mm. I'd imagine that these quants and hedge fund managers really don't want to go up against the Bohm King. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you give
I
them
mean, maybe.
respect, but if they knew that the Bohm King was on the other side of this trade, I don't think they'd be so confident. Maybe.
I mean, maybe if they're on chain on the dexes, right? But yeah, and perps, I don't think I have like a strong enough footing just yet.
Yeah. Oh, it's something to work on, right? Because I feel like with perps, you can kind of chip away at it and keep working on it over time.
Yeah, and I mean that's I think like I was like comparing it as well to like the AI trade, right?
Mm.
Like the AI trade is like fun and exciting because and like challenging myself to, I guess, read about these projects and sort of do that deep dive, I guess, into whatever they're building out.
Mm,
And I kind of feel like Perps provides that same stimulation
mm.
where I'm learning about how to trade Perps rather than just like blindly aping into shit. Like I'm really like learning, alright, cool, how to apply the knowledge that I've learned from like whatever video I've watched to my next Perps trade.
Mm.
And that's sort of like the thought process and the process I've been going through.
Yeah, which does sound like a really enjoyable learning experience, providing that you're not risking
Yeah, I
so much
mean,
money on the educational learning mistakes along the way.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I think like for me, like I mean, I've enjoyed it. Like I spent my fucking Saturday night sitting at home watching YouTube videos about trading rather than going to like clubs
Yeah,
because I just
nice.
wanted to like sit and learn because I'm like genuinely interested. I'm like, ah, cool, like you guys, like mate, what's going on? Like you can go. I'm going to sit at home and watch trading videos.
Nah, that's awesome, dude. I think it's very funny that like I can imagine you sitting down, pulling open the laptop, and then go to watch some YouTube videos, and then you come across crypto creds content, and you're like, nah, not on a Saturday night. This guy's too monotone. I need to change it up. Like,
Yeah, essentially. I mean, there is I mean, for anyone that does end up listening to this, there is a guide that I'd suggest watching.
mm,
Came across him yesterday, which I've found the most clear cut, most informative, and like doesn't seem like a lot. It's a guy called Matt Donlevy,
Matt Donlevy.
Matt, and then last name is Donlevey, like some photon trading guy. Um, but I'd recommend watching him. I think he's been one of the most interesting people to sort of listen to and learn from because he really explains things very clearly and very in depth at the same time.
Mm. Yeah, that's cool. I think it's always good to bounce trading techniques off with others as well. Um,
Yeah, I mean
yeah.
it's important to I think on like bouncing on that sort of topic. Like it's important to learn from other people, but it's also like who you're learning from. It's like we could like go into like a chat of like obviously like I guess a shit example would be the Autos Cabal chat, right? 10 different people might have a different trade idea, but it's like one of the things that I don't know where I'm going with this train of thought. It's a really shit train of thought, but I'm gonna keep going with it. Actually, come back a bit. Trading is unique to everyone. I
Mm,
think everyone needs to come up like with their own plan of execution.
mm,
So I think like yes, you can learn stuff from other people, but just because what works for like you example, right? You might really enjoy and really understand scalp trading, and that suits your lifestyle and your knowledge base of crypto and your psychological state and your emotional sort of state as well, right?
mm,
Whereas someone else, such as me, might be suited to swing trading and stuff like that.
mm.
So I think like that's also like something that you need to like work out, or anyone needs to work out when it comes to trading.
Yeah, how do you balance that, right? Because you're talking, from what I understand, with your current trading on Perps, you're talking pretty intra-day timeframes. Um, do you like, have you factored in how you're going to trade those sort of different setups when it comes to taking positions for longer periods of time? Like, have you come across an example yet where you've entered into a long or short, closed it, and then price has actually gone in that direction a lot more, and you could have actually made a little bit more money on that trade? Like, how have you managed those sort of trading decisions?
I mean, even like today, right? I
Mm,
think like I called Bitcoin at 95K, and it ran to like 96K, like right now.
mm,
But I mean, it was just like it's like even like any trade that I've taken, like even on chain, right, with meme coins or AI coins, it's like you can only act on the information that you have at a given point in time.
yeah.
And if I've closed a trade based on the information that I had available at that given time, that is the decision I made, and I have to live and stick by that decision. There's no point in me reopening a trade and putting myself in like the middle of a trade, which you don't know which way it's going to go, right? Like, for example, you might have, like, I might have placed a bid where I expected the coin to bounce off, which it did, but then there's no point of me going back and firming back into that trade
Mm.
because there might have been something at that time which was like, oh, this is why I exited the trade, but then it runs up a bit more, and then you move in, and then it reverses back to that like that position that you exited, or even further back down because it lost its momentum.
Yeah.
Um, so I think yeah, it's easy to manage from that perspective. Um, just knowing that hey, you acted in your, I mean, again, you'd expect any individual to act in their best interest, their
Mm.
own individual best interest. So I've acted in my best own individual instance, and until an obvious setup pops up, I'm not going to enter into another trade again.
Mm. Yeah, I actually like the fact that you said about the information at that time. Like, yeah, if you're closing it, it's because you're closing it on the information available to you. Like, you can't help if like bullish or bearish news comes out in favor of your bias. That sends price in your directional bet even further. And yeah, there's no point really going, well, I couldn't factor in the unknown, but I can factor in the information that I have on hand. So yeah, I think that's a really good point actually.
Yeah, I mean that's like with any trade you end up closing, right?
Mm,
Like, and then I mean, yeah, I think like we jokingly like sort of talk about like like Bitcoin fumbles and all these like fumbles that we've had in the space. But at the same time, like when we close those positions, again, we were like, all right, cool. I think either I've eaten too much drawdown in this move, and then when you exit the next day, the price fucking triples, and then you're
mm,
like, oh, would have been at profit or whatever. Or you end up selling because you're like, oh, I've made enough money on this move, on this trade, right? And you can't just fall into like this what if situation, because yeah, I mean, otherwise, a lot of life would be like what if. I think it's just yeah, applying yourself in that way.
mm. I think it's very wise that you're talking about this, and you're only really three or 4 weeks into your perps trading career.
I mean, I think like that specific idea is something that I've like applied to all trading, and I mean, I think like even like when some of like my closest like mates ask me about certain things, like oh, like how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? Or, like
Mm,
etc. etc. I'm just like bro, like I acted with whatever information I had available at that given point in time,
mm,
um, and I have to own whatever the outcome of that decision was. Like
mm,
yeah, like at the end, again, like I said before, I'm acting in my best interest at all times, and I'd hope again anyone else that is doing something would act in their own best interest. And in this situation, it didn't work out, but or it did work out in my favor. Like I was just acting with whatever was in my hand. I was able to assess and come to a final decision with.
mm,
So
mm.
there's no point of regretting it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, man. I think that's really well put as well. Um, yeah, I think I may have already asked this question. I'm just going to quickly check my notes. I mean, we talked about the specialization. Oh yeah, here we go. What have you found to be different between uh, on-chain and perps? Like, what are some of the main differences? You may have already touched on a few, but just if you wanted to sort of consolidate it all into now that you've had a good taste of both, what do you sort of feel like the main differences are between the two?
Um, hmm. I mean, I think Perps is obviously a lot more skill based.
Mm,
It's not whereas Perps is a lot more skill based. Is a lot more analytical based. Whereas on-chain dexes or not dexes or meme coins, AI coins was a lot more um like yes, it took skill to research stuff, but a lot of the time, and especially during like the main froth, it was about just being online and being able to bid on something, right? When someone will launch a meme coin, it'd come up on Memescope about a migrate or smite just migrated. You chuck in a couple of soul, you could make a lot of money, right?
mm,
Um, but it's not always possible for you for that to play out, because you ideally are sleeping 8 hours a day. You lose a third of your day there. You might be working full time, so you don't have time to sit on your computer to catch every single AI coin that comes out, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Um, Whereas obviously with like Bitcoin, you can come up with your thesis before sleeping, put your positions and all that kind of stuff on before sleeping and sort of see if it plays out or not. Um, so yeah, I think that's like the main difference. I think there's a lot more skill involved. Um, you have to be a lot more aware of what is happening externally.
Mm.
Um, like obviously, on-chain is based a lot on what's happening with Bitcoin, but then a lot of Bitcoin is um, sort of impacted by, I guess, U.S. policies or just I guess any international policies, the U.S. stock market performance, and AI in the real world, and all these other like small things which I guess lead on one another.
Yeah.
And I think that adds a lot of dimension and a lot of depth to crypto, to Bitcoin, I guess specifically, and I guess altcoins as well, outside of like the shitcoin level of coins.
Mm. Yeah, I was gonna say it can really take like a little bit of positive or negative news to just get like a flash wick, either to the upside or the downside, and can kind of unwind any positions that you're implementing tight risk, like tight stop losses on for strong risk management practices. So yeah, I kind of
Yeah,
agree
I
with
think like
that
that's
as
like
well.
yeah. I was gonna say like you mentioning about like the risk perspective, right?
Mm,
I think for me, I very specifically like focus on making sure that when I'm opening a position on leverage,
mm,
that am setting my stop loss in the same um like command or like same submission of like the transaction
mm,
to make sure that I don't like fucking who knows like they might announce a fucking war the moment I set my bid and I get wicked out to the bottom, right? And like say that you're betting like 5k and you only want to like risk 10%. I don't know betting, but you're bidding or investing, whatever you want to
mm,
call it. Um, 5k and you might only want to have a drawdown of 15% on that trade or
mm.
10% on that trade and lose 500 bucks versus 5k. So I'm like making sure that every time I'm placing a bid, that I'm making sure I'm putting my stop loss in at the same time so I don't get screwed over.
Yeah, you kind of know where you're invalidated before you put the trade on with your stop loss.
Mm.
Yeah, no, that's very good. Very sound risk management practices. Um, yeah. Let me just double check my notes. Uh, Yeah, I mean, from what you've told me so far, you've kind of been very in tune to what's moving and then, getting over that friction and moving your capital across to then, ape or experiment to see what's going on. Um, Now that memes are kind of dead, AI is kind of a little bit dead, NFTs are a little bit dead. Um, what do you see the next thing on the horizon where people will buy up the token to go do something, you know, constructive or not constructive with that asset? Like, what do you see as the next meta, so to speak?
Um, I mean, I think next meta is like what I was touching on right now before, right? Where I think DeFi will pop off.
Mm,
Um, Whether it happened on Sonic or not is a different story.
mm,
I think we might see. I think we're gonna. I think we might end up seeing a bit of like a perp cycle from a lot of people.
mm,
I think a lot of people might move to perps, to be quite frank. Because at the end of the day, like I think at the end of the day, like people want to continuously make money even if like the market's going sideways.
mm,
Everyone talks about the American summer and whatnot, but I think at the same time, I think at the same time, people like there was enough chop consolidation, I guess, on Bitcoin during last summer. Or there was enough volatility for people to make money versus the trenches being really shit, I think, during that time period.
Mm.
So I think a lot of people will end up moving to perps
Yeah.
for for a certain time during the summer period. If on chain it still is dry, so I think perps might have a revival arc in that sense.
Mm.
Because I
That's
think
mm.
a lot of 20, I mean I could be completely incorrect, but I think a lot of 2021, a lot of people had made their money through perps. Like
Mm.
obviously there was like on chain stuff here and there that would happen, but it wasn't as prominent. I think a lot of people made their money on perps and trading in that sense.
Yeah.
So I think that there might be another perps arc for a lot of people.
Yeah. That's probably quite bullish for places like Hype with how much money they make from perp trading. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I could see it happening. I could see either hype or other platforms, maybe Bybit.
Yeah. After they plug the
Yeah.
hack or
Yeah,
buy back
it
the
was
ETH.
interesting thing it happened. It was interesting thing it happened in real time.
Yeah. Were you awake for it? When that was going on?
Yeah, yeah, I was awake. What
Wow.
time was it? It was like at 2, 3 a.m. I don't know why I was awake. So like, I think I was waiting for Bitcoin to do something.
Yeah.
I think I got bored of like Bitcoin's price action during the Thursday daytime. It was like in the $300-400 range,
Mm.
and I was like, bro, I want to like bid. Like, it's not like a very bad gambling idea. Like, I just wanted to bid. I just want to like get that itching. Um, but yeah, I kind of just ended up staying up. I'm like, the only time the market starts moving is like when the US market starts moving,
Mm.
and so I was talking to my missus on the phone while she's like driving to work and just like trading or looking at the charts at the same time.
Mhm.
And I don't know how I ended up staying up so late or why I ended up staying up so late. But I was like still up at like 2 a.m. or 2:30 a.m. when like the thing got hacked and then obviously the volatility kicked in. So yeah, it was it was interesting seeing it unfold in real time.
Yeah.
And I remember just like going to sleep. I was like I had like a short on before the hack sort of got announced or like it got like known.
Mm.
Um, and then I was like going to sleep. I was like up a decent amount, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to sleep because I might wake up like a lot richer because I think the U.S. stock market's gonna crash. Or like I'm like I'll set my stop loss so if it comes back up, like I'll get out at like whatever fees I have to pay.
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna go to sleep and hope for the best. And it went, I think, like at its peak, the position was like worth 118%. I think I ended up closing it for like a 92% gain.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, I just like left it on overnight. I think when I went to sleep, it was like 30% or 60% um, of like a gain. So
Yeah.
happy with it.
That's good. I mean, the confidence of leaving a perps position overnight.
I
Um,
mean, I had, like I said, I had my stop loss on. I had my stop loss on. I had
uh,
my stop loss on. I was like, all right, cool. Like, whatever happens, happens.
are you like waking up as if it's like, you're just like, oh my God, is it red or black? Am I in the green or have I been stopped out when you're checking these perp positions?
I think I wake up with like excitement, not so much worry.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to be rich or poor today. Like, um, but no, I think it's just exciting, like just waking up and being like, cool, like, did my thesis play out? Because,
Yeah.
like I was saying before, a lot of this ends up being, I don't want to say skill based because it is, a lot of it is influenced by news,
Mm.
but a lot of like, I think perp trading or like, yeah, like perp trading or trading in general is thesis based.
Mm.
And I mean, like thesis doesn't have to be crazy, but because it's thesis based, it's just I don't know. I feel like you end up feeling more proud of when something plays out the way that you expected it to play out,
Yeah.
rather than just like buying an on-chain shit and it goes from 3 mil to like 150K overnight
Yeah.
because you held it and everyone else decided to rug.
Yeah.
Like
Do
I'm
you,
not expecting
mm,
Bitcoin to go down to 125K overnight.
yeah. No, I agree with that. I was going to say, do you think it has something to do with how much time and energy goes into the original trade setup thesis? Like, it's not someone telling you to put this trade on and put your stop loss here and your take profit there. Like, it's purely on you to come up with these discretionary principles and places to do business on the chart, so to speak, that when it pays off in your favor and you get a win, that it feels like more rewarding than trying to hit the jackpot with a flavor of the day on chain shitter maybe.
Yeah, I would definitely say so.
Mm,
I think it is definitely based on like, yeah, I think it's like rewarding from that perspective as well.
mm,
I think it's also rewarding from the perspective of like, I guess, even though we're not trading against people that we know on like a daily basis, but it's like it's fun to like trade against someone else's bias.
mm.
It could be like someone might be like, "Oh, I'm long on this position," but then you look at the chart and you're like, "I don't think it's gonna play out like that. You think it's gonna be like it's gonna play out short."
Mm,
Um, I think I said that right. But like you're pretty much taking the opposite trade to someone,
yeah.
and like you don't have to shit talk them, and I mean you don't have to like rub it in their face, but it kind of like you let the market do the talking in that sense, right? It's
Mm,
like I think it was like a couple like weeks ago, not a couple of weeks ago, I think it was like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I was like to Bunjo, I'm like, yeah, I think BTC's like got a nuke. It's like, well, I'm like a long sol right now. I'm like, it's got a nuke. I think you should close it. It was like, I'm like, do you want to bet on it? It was like, we'll let the market like do the bet for us, right? Like you got your long, I was like, you got your short, I got my long. Like we'll let the market like if you make your money, you make your money. If I make my
yeah.
money, I make my money. I'm like, yeah, true. Like so, like we kind of like just let the market decide in that sense, and then yeah, I ended up being right, and he was not happy. But yeah,
It's so true about letting the market decide. I find that to be one of the cooler things of like crypto Twitter is that I guess once you get to a point where, you know, you've done your own work enough that you can just kind of benchmark how you're sizing up a chart in comparison to someone else. They might draw a squiggly line that goes to 150k while you're looking at like the 4 hour and looking where the liquidity gaps are, and you think, no, I think we'll get a sweep here first. This makes more sense to me. So I'm happy to buy lower or at least like short it down to these levels. So um, for for me, I find
yeah,
perps more engaging in that sort of sense where you're always constantly um, looking at something and seeing maybe not so much what's next, but like where the next best opportunity is on the chart.
yeah. Looking for like the next pivot point, the next
Mm,
change of structure. Um, yeah, no, I think I agree with that. Like, I think it's like at the analytical side of things.
mm,
I think it's also it's constantly trading, but you're not waiting for I think luck to play out. Because I think with a lot of I guess trenches in like the last like 2 months, or 2 months, last like month and a couple of days, it's been very much luck based slash time and place
mm,
based. Whereas with perps is very rarely the case. Like yeah, you could have been. I mean, like I was like up at the right time, like bid on the market before it went to like before like the buy bit hack happened, or like there could be like similar instances to that, right? But there's so many different people that get that information before you even have a chance to get that
mm.
information, right?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, like I'm sure like the market already reacted to the buy bit hack before like Zach XBT was like posting about it in his like Telegram chat. Um, so I think it's just like a different playing field, perps, and it's a lot more of a interesting playing field, and
mm,
I've enjoyed it, and I think I will keep enjoying it, and then maybe when I get bored of it, I might go back to Onchain, or I might look for somewhere else to trade.
yeah, yeah. I think the 24/7 aspect of crypto is always quite entertaining. Um,
Yeah,
for me, anyway. Yeah, I had a question for you because you've pivoted to obviously being super successful on chain with some killer trades. You're currently experimenting with perps, and you know, from what you're telling me so far, I feel like you've already learnt so much in a short period of time, which is awesome. Have you thought about what comes after crypto for you?
Um, Honestly, no. Like, I think
Mm,
for me, like, I think what we were talking about earlier as well today, before you might have started recording, I do
mm,
ideally want to get like a full time. Ideal scenario is not working for anyone and just trading full time.
yeah,
And just having having like that bankroll to just do that and not have to worry about money ever again, and like having the right skill set for it.
mm,
But I think like if I don't take that route, which is I guess everyone's wet dream, um, I think for me the next sort of steps in crypto would be, yeah, just getting a job, like a crypto native company,
mm,
um, which lets me stay aligned to the industry that I log into every day, that I enjoy every day.
yeah,
I think also we're still in a stage where the market is in its infancy,
mm,
and if you get into the, like, I guess the working force side of things, you can become a predominant member of like the crypto space in a sense, right?
yeah,
Like for example, you could become like an industry leader is what the word I'm looking for. I mean, there's so many LARPy industry leaders right now that we know about, or like that we see speaking, hear speaking at different conferences that don't know like jack shit about crypto, right?
yeah,
But like my thing is like I think that is like a very real possibility because the industry is still so young. A
mm,
lot of like the crypto industry has really only been built since 2017 onwards. I think a lot of the stuff before 2017 was not tangible.
yeah,
I think a lot of what has, a lot of the progress that has happened in the last couple of years alone, and I only see it exponentially increasing. And I mean, I'd love to be a part of that sort of growth, the big growth stage of crypto.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's wholesome that you want to do that as well. Because I remember I think it was Kobe said it as well that like the best way to stay engaged is to not try and push money around 24/7, but also to kind of work within the space and have that engagement through something that is crypto adjacent. So yeah,
Hmm. You think Kobe said it?
he said it on one of his podcasts. I can't remember if it was his 4 hour long one or if it was one of the other podcasts that he did. I think it was his 4 hour long one that he did. So under Up Only, the one that's just titled Kobe. I think he talks about it in that as well. For those listening, if you haven't heard of that podcast called Up Only, definitely go check it out. It has some really good content around the previous cycle and the guests that they had on it there. So, just as a plug for another crypto podcast while I'm talking about this one. Um, my last question, I guess, was there anything that you wanted to talk about specifically that you've kind of learnt along the way, or maybe a topic that we didn't touch on with this cycle or the bear market or the previous cycle that you wanted to sort of discuss in some more detail?
Um, no, I think the only topic that suggest is be nice to everyone in the space. I think
Mm,
the space is still small. I think it's important to make a lot of friends, because you don't know I mean, you don't know who's going to provide you the next piece of alpha.
mm,
There might be someone that might have like the next boom that might want to send it to you, but you're addicted to them. Um, yeah, I think like there's like so many people in the space that gatekeep contract addresses and all this kind of like shitty small stuff, which I'm like, bro, like gatekeeping a CA is gonna like change your life. Like
mm,
if you're in a trade and you like someone and you have friends in the space, just bro, share it with them.
mm,
Um, yeah, just make friends, and friends help other friends make money, and that's kind of like my way of thinking about it. I want there's no point of like being rich at the top, whether it's I mean there's no point of being rich at the top by yourself. Like I
yeah,
want to have people that I spend time with also have wealth and also be financially free and all that kind of stuff. So be nice to one another, help one another out, and everyone wins together in that
Yeah.
sense.
No, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. I don't think personally if I had made some of the friends that I have in this space, I'd have the confidence to start this. So, in saying that, I really want to thank you for coming on, Bala, and taking the time to make me feel a little bit terrible about my on-chain experience, knowing that I completely missed Slurf and Bohm. But nonetheless, talking about your time in crypto, what you've learnt so far, and how you're approaching perps trading. It's been great to have you on. So I just want to say thank you.
No, I mean, thank you for inviting me on. Like had mentioned before, I was very honored that you thought I was the best trader you know. um, and no, I was very honored and I was very geeked out to be on today. So no, thank you for having me, man. Appreciate
No,
it.
that's so good. Well, when I was like the fourth person removed, from hearing about your success on Bohm, yeah, I you were on the list already to get on and have a chat about how you went with that, and yeah, to hear you're already like progressing really far with perp trading and already, speaking from a perspective of having learnt so much already in such a short period of time. No doubt, cannot wait for the DM of you telling me when to enter stop loss and target so I can, get spoon fed a Bohm trade again.
Copy. I'll let you know when I'm there. I'll let you know when I'm there. I mean, my first goal, as pinned on my Twitter 2 weeks 2 weeks ago, was get on the top 100 leaderboard for Hyperliquid. So let's see if I can make that happen.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. And it only really takes like a couple of um, neatly positioned bets against the rest of the market, really, right? Like if you're happening to be short when everyone's long or long when everyone's short, it only takes like a few moments to really um, get there. But
Define you as a trader. Yeah, define you
yeah,
as a trader and like I guess make you think of your own theses. I mean, my thing is like I'm not playing perps with like a large bankroll at all.
mm,
Um, I'm just like I'm gonna play with like a very small amount to like learn,
mm,
and sort of take it from there.
yeah, yeah. I think that's a smart way of doing it.
Yeah,
Just so you
yeah. I
don't
mean,
go
I'm not trying to
backwards.
blow up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not trying to blow up.
Yeah, nah, dude, and I
So yeah.
wish you all the best too with this because I want to see you on the top 100 so I can be like, yep, had him on the podcast once, and yeah, I didn't copy trade him on anything, but he's doing well, like, he's
I
doing well
know.
without
Like
me.
I know that guy. I know that guy. I know that guy.
I knew
Hopefully,
him.
he remembers me.
Yeah, that $14 million P&L. Yep, I helped him with that for sure.
Yeah. No, he doesn't respond to my DMs when I ask him when I ask him entry SL.
Yeah. Uh,
It's like, can you fill out the survey for me? And so just like three questions, like entry stop loss leverage amount. That's it.
but I would be really keen to get you back on again in the future to see what has changed with your trading style because I think that my assumption is that over time people definitely change up their style depending on how markets change and whether they're more intraday or longer term time frame. I think that'll be really cool to have you back on and then sort of dive into that in more detail in the future.
Yeah, yeah, man. By all means, I think like what you're saying, I think is very true. I think depending on when you enter your long, like if I enter long at fucking what's it called, like say 54K,
Mm,
I wouldn't be fucking trying to day trade leverage right now. I'd probably just leave my existing 54K
mm.
position open because I think that the market's gonna go higher type of thing, right? Um, so no, I'd be very interested to hop on in a couple months' time and see how my journey has progressed in perps.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not a bear market by then and I've missed the DeFi renaissance and everything that was happening on Sonic. You'd be like, yeah, you know what, I've done okay here on Perps, but I made the real money here. You remember how I was telling you that on the podcast? And I'd be like, oh my god, I faded it again, didn't
I
I?
made like $50 million, made $50 million on some DeFi Ponzi that blew up in everyone else's face, not mine. But no, it'd be interesting to see how things play out.
Mm.
and where things go from here.
But I think like you said, a small amount perps trading on Hyperliquid to get familiar with your style is probably a really healthy way to stay engaged without trying to, roll your whole entire
Burn line
bankroll.
cash.
Yeah, every single bet. So yeah, that's awesome. Mm,
Yeah. Yeah, the best way to stay engaged and stay active, I guess,
mm,
and feel like you're doing something even though you might not be doing much.
yeah. For those who are watching this on the YouTube as well, just a quick plug. If you could like and subscribe, you'll be helping myself and the rest of the Brotatoes out. Yeah, you'd just be helping us out a lot if you could like and subscribe. We'll also have Bala's details in the um, I want to say show notes, but it's actually the link description. So you can definitely click on Bala's profile. You can give him a follow. Check out his pinned tweet around what he was mentioning with being top 100 on Hyperliquid. So definitely show him some love. But yeah, Bala, I just want to say thanks again. Thanks for coming on and despite deciding to spend your Monday night with me. That was really nice.
Not a problem. Thank you once again for having me, Smith.
All good.